One local organization is doing what it can to stop human trafficking right here in Michigan. What's next for Camp Agawam? And the Orion Township Public Library celebrates 30 years of Battle of the Books. Hello and welcome to ONTV News. I'm Ciaramitaro. We will have these stories plus much more. Orion Township is the first municipality in Oakland County to develop an ordinance to control the growth of Phragmites, an invasive species killing off various inland and coastline plants. Phragmites are a wetland grass that can grow over 15 feet in height. Orion Township trustees approved the Environmental Resource Committee's recommendation for the ordinance. The process will require updating current ordinances 78 for zoning, 79 for weeds, 107 for wetlands, and 39 for stormwater, along with writing an entirely original ordinance strictly for Phragmites. The Board of Trustees approval will cost the township close to $3,000. State law mandates that Michigan road commissions reduce the weight limits on its non-all-weather roads every spring as temperatures begin to rise and grounds begin to thaw. The Road Commission for Oakland County applied seasonal spring weight restrictions to its non-all-weather roads on Friday, March 13th. The restrictions limit the amount of weight trucks can carry on the roads and will help minimize damage to the roads while they are thawing. For a complete update on the status of all weight restrictions, you can call RCOC's hotline at 248-858-4765. Lake Orion is known for its scenic lands and beautiful lakes, and within all its natural beauty lies a gem uniquely special to the area. Camp Agawam, originally known as Camp Pontiac, was founded in 1918 and has a very rich history. The full-functioning Boy Scout summer camp was in operation under the Boy Scouts of America Michigan Crossroads Council until January 1st, 2013, when it shut down. Orion Township purchased the land in 2014 for nearly $1.5 million in the hopes of retaining the state of the land. However, since Township's purchase last year, there has been consistent talk of another future owner, the Michigan DNR. Many Township board members do not wish to see the DNR take control of the land. In fact, many would like to see a deed restriction placed on the camp to reserve the land and have it up and running again in the near future, as not only a Boy Scout camp but a recreational park for all community residents. On Monday, March 16th, the Board of Trustees had both a closed session to discuss an attorney opinion letter regarding a possible deed restriction and an open public session regarding placing the self-imposed deed restriction on the property. Orion Township Clerk Penny Schultz is one of the board members in favor of the deed restriction.
I've been with the township for 25 years. I worked in the assessor's office previous to being elected to serve as clerk. And I did the assessment administration, and I remember Camp Franklin when it was actually Camp Franklin. And now it's a beautiful development which includes housing on the water and off the water, and it also includes the Kroger Plaza there off M24. And it's a beautiful development. However, I don't want to see something like that happening with Camp Agawam. I'd like to preserve that for generations to come. I'd like to be able to have people who know it and use it in its current way be able to bring their children and their grandchildren to enjoy it as well.
Orion Township Treasurer Mark Thurber would also like to see Camp Agawam protected, but he says in order to get a deed restriction placed on the land, the entire board needs to agree.
We have to get the board to agree to do this. And you would think that this is kind of a no-brainer. However, we're getting a lot of resistance within the board itself. Thoughts of, well, why should we tie our hands? Well, in this case, why wouldn't we? This is something that is intended as preservation of our local history. for the utilization of our kids and their children and a legacy going forward. So why wouldn't we tie our hands?
For more information about the future of Camp Agawam, visit www.oriontownship.org. And if you want your opinions about Camp Agawam to be heard, you can write to Penny Schultz directly at pschultz@oriontownship.org. One of the missions of the Orion Township Public Library is to encourage children to read and to nurture their love of reading. One fun way the library has been trying to get children excited about reading is by hosting the annual Battle of the Books competition. Recently, ONTV's Joe Johnson visited Scripps Middle School to give us a look at the fierce competition.
On Saturday, March 14th, 50 teams representing more than 200 fifth graders assembled in the Scripps Middle School Gymnasium for the 30th annual Battle of the Books. In November of 2014, students were challenged by the Orion Township Library to read 15 books in a wide variety of genres. At the event, the students were then quizzed on the knowledge they've retained.
We always include a Michigan book because we have a Michigan author who comes to our awards ceremony. And then beyond that, we try to get nonfiction. We do all the genres like mystery and fantasy, a couple of nonfictions, maybe a science one. So we just try to hit everything so the children are exposed to things that they normally wouldn't pick up.
When the event was created 30 years ago, each Lake Orion Elementary School was represented by a single team, and the event was held in the library's meeting room. Today, the event is open to all fifth graders who want to take part. Although the competition is fierce, the teams seem to have a lot of fun, and many of them dress up in elaborate costumes.
What I enjoy most is seeing over 200 10-year-olds get excited about reading. They're working together, they come together as a team, they read these books together, and they help each other with the answers. And I love seeing the teamwork and the excitement.
The costumes seem to get better and more elaborate every year. Talk about the costumes.
The costumes are something else. I love to see them every year. They get into the team spirit. It kind of helps with their camaraderie. You can tell the ones that the kids really enjoyed doing themselves, and you can tell the ones where mom and dad got to help a little bit too. And they're all just very unique. They really kind of bring out the personalities of the kids on the team.
On Tuesday, March 17th, participants were invited to Lake Orion High School's auditorium for an award ceremony. Every team was called up to the stage for certificates, a book bag, and a photo opportunity. When it came down to the remaining 5 teams, it was announced that 3 teams tied for second place. And with a score of 94 out of 100, 2 teams tied for first place. The Greek Geeks, made up of students from Paint Creek Elementary, and the Bookworms, representing Stadium Drive Elementary, were crowned champions of the 2015 Battle of the Books. Following the award ceremony, author Sarah Miller of Romeo was invited to speak to the students. Her book, Miss Spitfire, is about the life of Helen Keller and was one of the 15 books included in this year's Battle of the Books competition.
It sounds pretty neat. I would kind of like to see the questions and see if I'm smart enough to answer them, see what else they've read. Yeah, I mean, to see this many kids all riled up for books, that's tough to beat.
I hope the kids remember how much fun it is to read. At this age, they're fifth graders. They're starting to get a little bit busier in life with middle school, high school on the horizon. And just to remember that reading is fun. Reading is something that you can do for fun and really enjoy and learn a little bit about yourself just by reading something fun along the way. So I hope that they can take that value system with them as they go into upper grades.
In Lake Orion, this is Joe Johnson reporting for ONTV News.
Thanks, Joe. When we come back, a new restaurant makes its way to Lake Orion, and reporter Jonathan Jackson takes us inside the Orion Township Library for a special author event.
A local author visits the Orion Township Public Library in order to promote her book, which she wrote from the letters of her late father in World War II. I'll have that and more for you coming up.
Welcome back to ONTV News. I'm Ciaramitaro. A shocking statistic was announced earlier this month. Michigan is ranked second in the nation, only behind Nevada, in human trafficking. One local organization recently opened an office right here in Lake Orion to battle this growing problem. On Saturday, March 7th, the nonprofit organization ESTHERS, which stands for End Sex Trafficking for Her, held an open house at the Orion Office Center on Lapeer Road to celebrate the opening of their new office in Lake Orion. ESTHERS works towards ending human trafficking and in 2011 opened a community center in Brazil to protect the girls of that country.
Human trafficking really too, it's not just what we think of with prostitution and young girls, but human trafficking is such a huge industry that we don't really know, as like the public knowledge is not really what all human trafficking is. It's the clothes we wear, the chocolate we eat is a huge one. So those are just a few different forms of human trafficking that we may not know of that are happening all around us.
Many people consider human trafficking to be a problem for third world countries, but there have been reports of attempted abductions at area malls and even right here in Lake Orion.
Definitely, human trafficking is a huge problem here in Michigan, especially in Detroit. I've read some things and heard some things that they're trying to make an official red light district in Detroit, which would make prostitution legal down there, but human trafficking, it's really happening all around us. It's not just in places like Detroit or in Las Vegas or in Brazil where we are, but it's happening in our own neighborhoods and places where really we don't know it's happening, and it's a very underground industry that is affecting so many young women and young boys even too in this industry.
Also holding an open house in the same building on the same day was Provide Inc., a nonprofit organization that networks with other local organizations to perform community service projects. Provide Inc. was founded by Lori Nassif in 2008 and celebrated a move into a larger office. Recently, volunteers at Provide Inc. gathered at a church in Clarkston to package food for hungry children in South America.
Provide Inc. is a nonprofit organization that my mom founded to help bring other nonprofit organizations together to help do service projects, and then they do some service projects of their own, and have made a pretty big impact in the community, so I'm proud of my mom for doing that.
For more information about Provide Inc., you can visit their website at provideinc.org. And for more information about ESTHERS, visit estherschildren.org. Both organizations have Facebook pages as well. For those of you looking for a healthier option when eating out, a brand new restaurant recently opened its doors that offers a unique menu. On Thursday, March 12th, representatives of the Chamber of Commerce gathered at Pure Cuisine Cafe to welcome Lake Orion's newest restaurant with a ribbon-cutting ceremony.
Would your mother like to say anything?
No, she's not a big talker.
Okay.
Not a big talker. She's like, let's get this over with, let's go eat.
Pure Cuisine originally opened as a catering business in June of 2014 before evolving into a restaurant. The doors opened in December, but a burst water pipe quickly closed them again. Reopened on March 4th, the restaurant launched its spring menu, complete with items geared towards vegans and healthier eaters.
Well, we use different items. We try to be different. If there's an item on somebody else's menu, I try not to even do it. I try to come up with things that combinations that would be enticing to people, yet different but healthy. You know, people think that you have to have fat for flavor and all that, and that's not true. You can get fresh vegetables and fresh herbs and good oils and seasonings to actually bring those flavors out. So we've done some different combinations of things like quinoa cakes and za'atar crusted tofu for the vegans, you know, and it has such flavor because of the herbs and the fresh spices in there. It's something that nobody else is doing around here, and I'm happy to do it because the community has come by and thanked me for bringing this type of food here.
Those who enjoy a little protein in their diet can add a wide variety of meat options to their orders as well. Director of Operations Ahmed Zubi told us he's overwhelmed by the outpouring of support he's received from members of the community and from the Chamber of Commerce.
We want to help the community. We want to bring that healthy aspect to the community. We want to give back, and we want the community to be a part of us because we do this for the community. They're our business. They're our livelihood. So we want to give back and do anything we can for them too. And the Chamber, they've been awesome. And anything that I've needed help with or marketing or anything like that, they've been there for me. They've been amazing.
Pure Cuisine Cafe is open 7 days a week. Within the next few weeks, you will be able to order from the online menu and pay in advance to have your meal waiting for you when you arrive. Visit purecuisinecafe.com for more information, or you can give them a call at 248-783-7207. Recently, the Orion Township Library welcomed a local author who wrote a very special book about her father, who served in World War II. Jonathan Jackson has the story.
The Orion Township Public Library received a visit from a woman by the name of Teresa Irish, who discovered some very special letters written by her father during World War II.
Well, my dad passed away in 2006, and it was a month after he passed away, and we lived up in the Saginaw area. And it was Memorial Day weekend, and I decided to go home and spend a little time in my parents' home. And I happened to open his army trunk that weekend. And we didn't expect to find a lot because my dad did talk about the war. But unbeknownst to all of us, there were 1,000 handwritten letters from November of 1942 until December of 1945.
While reading the letters, Irish described her experience as both emotional and awe-inspiring.
It took me 13 months to read them, one, because they were so frail to handle. Two, as you might imagine, there was a lot of emotion involved with it. My dad had just passed away, and this was this whole new element of his life and meeting my father. So it was a pretty emotional, long journey to do.
As she was writing the book, Irish encountered quite a few obstacles along the way.
The first and hardest part was selecting which of the 1,000 letters would go in the book. So as I read them, I would mark them, and then I sent them to two of my sisters who actually did the typing, and then I compiled them. And over time, we began the process of trying to find a publisher, which is pretty tough to do if you're not a known author. So over time, we put all the pieces together and figured out the steps to publishing a book. We contracted a designer for the cover, used different tools, kind of looked step-by-step materials and teaching us how to go about publishing it. And my husband and I finished it up and actually debuted it at our wedding.
Irish's husband, Bradley Foster, was a key figure in helping her to write the narrative.
The first way that I helped was, I think I sort of helped her get started again because it was such a very long project for her. And she'd been working on it for 3 years already when we first met.
She hopes that her book will be able to bring veterans and their family members closer together.
16.2 million Americans served in World War II. So as a result of that, everyone that you shared them with, they had a father or a grandfather or an uncle that was in the war. And so many didn't talk about the war that I've since learned through my speaking engagements that lots of people are sort of looking for those maybe holes in information they didn't hear in their parents' lifetime, and they think, gosh, my dad served in Texas and maybe he was at this camp. So it just became a really important mission to me, initially as a gift to my family. And then suddenly the response just started to grow with people's interest. And 5.5 years later, we published the book. We're self-published. And we've had 2 printings already and 175 speaking engagements since April of 2012.
Irish is continuing to travel through the state of Michigan, promoting her book, as well as preserving the legacy of veterans. From Orion Township Public Library, I'm Jonathan Jackson for ONTV News.
Thanks, Jonathan. Among the wide variety of activities Orion Township's Community Programs Department offers are numerous programs geared towards nature and wildlife. Recently, the department teamed up with Waste Management to help spread the message. On Wednesday, March 11th, the Orion Center hosted a wildlife management team meeting. Waste Management's Kathleen Klein led a presentation for members of the Wildlife Habitat Council.
In short, it's a wildlife habitat program that we are certified through the Wildlife Habitat Council, which is a national nonprofit organization that works with businesses and other entities in the area to help promote wildlife habitat as well as wildlife education.
Many people may not know that the Eagle Valley landfill maintains several wildlife habitats on the grounds. As a matter of fact, a bald eagle was recently spotted in the area.
At Eagle Valley, we have some natural wetlands as well as mitigated, recreated wetlands on site. They are viable. They have been determined to be well mitigated, I should say, or they're what we now call conservation easements through the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Mm-hmm. So the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality assesses them and determines their viability and that they are in fact viable wetlands. With that, we have a lot of nature living in those wetlands.
The township's community program department offers ongoing wildlife activities throughout the year and will be partnering with Waste Management to educate the public.
We have gotten into a partnership with Waste Management to do wildlife habitat development, and so they have expanded their program to our site. So some of the different things that we've done, we've got wood owl and wood duck houses that we've put on site. We've put in 3 martin houses. We've put in bluebird houses that we're going to be clearing for the spring because birds are in all those houses, so we're doing the clean outs right now so that they'll be habitable for this spring. We have monarch butterfly gardens, and we have planted both vegetable gardens, and we've done perennial and annual flower gardens. We have an area that's in the front of the building that's like a watershed and rain garden, so we're working on that to upgrade and continue to build habitats that are going to engage wildlife.
Information about the Orion Center's activities and programs will be included in the summer's edition of Community Programs brochure, which will be arriving in your mailbox on June 1st. The Wrestling State Tournament took place March 5th through the 7th. Lake Orion had 2 wrestlers qualify for the tournament. Senior Logan Shadiah qualified for the 215-pound weight class, and junior Brendan Thompson qualified at the 285-pound weight class. Shadiah was first to wrestle on Thursday and lost to his opponent from Livonia, Churchill, by a pin at 1 minute and 52 seconds in. Next was Thompson, who was pinned by his opponent from Holland, West Ottawa at 1 minute and 15-second mark. Both wrestlers continued to the consolation rounds Friday, March 6th. Again, Shadiah was the first to wrestle and was pinned by his opponent from Birmingham, Seaholm, 2 minutes and 7 seconds into the match. Thompson didn't fare much better. His opponent from West Bloomfield won by a pin 2 minutes and 3 seconds into the match. This knocked both Dragon wrestlers out of the tournament. For more information about Lake Orion's wrestling team or any high school athletics, visit www.lakeorion.k12.mi.us. That's all the time we have for this episode of ONTV News. For daily updates on what's happening in Lake Orion, like us on Facebook and watch daily content on our YouTube page. On behalf of the hardworking staff here at ONTV, I'm Ciaramitaro. We will see you next time.